So today's topic is conflict resolution in relationships. And we all know that this is a necessary topic because who doesn't have conflict in relationships? However, it's not always about the conflict because that's inevitable to some extent. But it is all about how you handle the conflict, how you deal with it together, and how you move onward from it, hopefully for it not to be a reoccurring deal. So, for this reason, we're going to get right to it. And I wanted to bring in some guests that I felt could add some value to the conversation. And most importantly, I wanted to bring in a male perspective because, as you guys know, we really struggle on this podcast to get men on here. So, we're going to start out with Mr. Brandon. If you want to introduce yourself to the people.
Hello, people. I'm B.Hopkins. I'm excited to be with this podcast, and y'all can follow me on Instagram, B.Hopkins91. I also do photography. So
perfect. Okay, look, we gotta talk.
No. Plug.
Yes, and then we have our one and only Mrs. Jordan in the building.
You did a little stuttering on my name. Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday.
I apologize. And then we do have two ladies who are remote. They've called in to add to the conversation. We have someone in Atlanta and in DC. So in Atlanta, who do we have?
This is Jacquita. Hello. I'm so happy to be here with you all tonight. I have listened to basically all the episodes except for the past 3. A sister has a new job and I have not had time.
Well, they will be there for you to catch up, and we are so happy to have you and glad that we can have an active listener on here so you know how it goes. And last but not least, we have Miss Leona on the line.
Hey, everyone. I am the same as Miss Jacquita. I love the episodes. I forced my boyfriend to listen to them with me. So I'm just happy to be here and actually get to be
wonderful. We are happy to have you all. So we are going to get right to it. So starting out, we all know people fight, in relationships, we know they fight. But what would you guys say is at the core of being a person who can peacefully resolve a conflict in a relationship if they truly wanted to? And this is applicable to beyond romantic relationships. So what would y'all say, is at the core of a person who can really have a conflict with somebody and peacefully resolve it and get past it? And I ask this question because in my past relationships, as you all know, I really struggled to find a partner who I was able to have a conflict with, and the conflict didn't last for days. I feel like months. We were arguing, fighting, and at the end of the day, we had to just agree to disagree. And most times I feel like I was never satisfied. So what would y'all say, I guess, is at the core, or you have a trait or traits that you have to have in order to be able to peacefully resolve conflict? Don't everybody go in? Okay. Go ahead.
I got it. So I think you need to have, the spirit of God within you, because it takes a while to get that peace and to understand that everything isn't, worth stressing over. And I think once you, get to know the Lord, it kind of comes with that relationship so that people don't piss you off or you don't stay as agitated when you're dealing with each other all day.
And that makes sense. About in my, I would say 4 or 5 years now, and I would say just my spiritual journey, whether that be whether it be church, whether it be listening to things, whether it be reading things, it's come along to the point where I protect my peace at all costs. But I would say 4 or 5 years ago, I wasn't trying to protect my peace. I was trying to win the argument, so that's why I'm at a point where I'm asking, what do you have to have at the core? And I think that is one core thing. What do the rest of y'all think?
So I would say that you need to be at peace with yourself.
Okay.
Many of us are battling ourselves daily. So you have to sit down and just have that time with yourself and meditate and figure out why you are battling with yourself. What do you like about yourself? What don't you like about yourself? And figure out how to please yourself and not please others.
You want to be by yourself.
Yes. So for me, I had to come to the point that a lot of beliefs and values that were placed upon me growing up may not be what I actually believe in. So you have
an example?
Just to be real,
that's what we want.
I had to understand that being judgmental of others and how they live their lives, just based on certain beliefs, you had to, in order to be at peace with yourself, you had to.
So I'm gonna jump in, but I'm gonna take it a step deeper. Judgmental as far as what? We like to be real on here.
Oh, just how people live their lives, like the type of relationships that they enter into, why they make the decisions that they make, why people spend their money, how they spend their money versus they should do it this way. A lot of times when you're judging others, you're judging yourself and you're not living your true life.
Okay. And I think it goes what you just kind of touched on. You said sometimes people judge in the point of, you know, you got to wait to marriage to do this, or you can't do this until you got a husband.
Yeah, you got to be celibate until you get married. That's what the old folks say.
Exactly. So
like be in church fanning themselves, saying they virgins, you know. But we all know what happened.
I agree with that. And I will say I had this growing up. Of course, I am an attorney, which is what I always wanted to be. But I thought my life was go to college, go to law school, make the highest grade possible, graduate from law school, get married, get a house, have kids, you know, and by doing that, you are the best person ever. Like you're better than anybody else. And that's not true. You know, that's not how things go. So I'm now at peace. I mean, I think I would say now I'm 34. I was at peace when I was like 28, 29 when I started figuring out that's not how it's going to go.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, okay, whenever things happen, it will happen. I know I have to take actions to actively date in order to get married and do things to have kids. But I'm at peace because I know when it's my time, it will be my time. And I'm out here having fun, living life, doing whatever I want to do.
Right. And you have to be at peace to do those things successfully anyway. What would you say? You were about to say something, Crystal. What do you think?
I was just going to say, so the thing that came to my mind was maturity. So being in past relationships, there's always been, you know, that tit for tat or, you know, those situations where we want to be right or, you know, we want to have the final word or we want to prove a point. But I just feel like once you get to a certain point of maturity, like certain things don't matter. And you mentioned it doesn't have to be like a romantic relationship.
Right.
It could be these petty helpers that I work with at work. Because I tell people all the time, like, for me, you have to find like a zone that reminds you why you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
So for me, I'm a social worker. So I meet the most dysfunctional people. Like I tell people all the time, I can write a book.
Yeah.
Because you just don't understand the amount of foolishness that's out here.
Yeah.
But there are days where people will irritate the fine hair back of my neck. I gotta calm down. So for me, what I've done in my desk at the bottom drawer, I pull out that drawer and it's one of them like little hook folders.
Yeah.
I got a hook folder, and inside that I have a vanilla envelope, and inside that I have a mailing envelope.
Okay.
So when I get pissed off, I sit at my desk, I try to woosah, I open that drawer, I go in that little folder, I get in the yellow envelope, and then I take out the envelope, and it's a piece of paper that I unfold. And once I unfold it, it is a printout of my next check. And I tell myself, bitch, get it together. Because you got a check coming, and then I count down the days. I get paid every 2 weeks, and 3 days, I'm going to say, hey, look, you got what? 10 days, then you finna get another check that's gonna look like this.
Yeah.
Then I fold it up, I put it back in that folder, back in that vanilla envelope, back in that, and I close that drawer up, and I keep it moving.
And then you gotta get your method to your madness.
It's a method, so you know, and when you have that thin line of maturity, you know, things will just roll off. It becomes bigger than just, you know, proving a point or being right, especially when you care about someone. When you care about a person, what I learned, and me and DeLorean shared this on one of your other episodes, we went to premarital counseling.
Right.
And we learned a term that we use now, which is die to self. You gotta. And we do it when we having our moods, when we irritated. We even eat humorous stuff. If we eating pizza and he know I'm hungry and my inner fat kid is not full, I'm gonna be like, you know, I want that slice of pizza. He be like, but you, I be like, look, die to self, you know. And
who else say it first? Get a slice of pizza.
Gotta be unselfish.
Boundaries. That's a huge part of having peace in a relationship. what protects my peace the most, especially in 2020, because I had a couple of health scares in 2019 to the point where I was like, I'm not going to allow people, places, or things to stress me out on any level. And if that means that I'm doing too much, control my partner or control a family member, or I'm trying to force a certain outcome, again, that goes back to control. I think that we just have to be mature enough to recognize those things. If I set this boundary, this allows nobody else to come into my space that I don't want. And this also allows me to not step outside the parameters that I need to step outside of to make sure that I'm operating from a peaceful space. So I think absolutely the spirituality plays a role. The maturity plays a role. Setting the boundaries plays a role. And what would you say, Brandon, for you plays a role in being able to peacefully resolve conflict?
For me, I say patience. A lot of people don't have that. So when it comes to maturity, you need to have patience with people. Like we just such impatient people. That's just how the world works. We don't want to be in traffic, of course, because it's terrible. But it's just you gotta have patience. If you like love that person, want to be with that person, I gotta learn how to work together, be patient, and really just understand a deeper, like what's the deeper self, like what happened in their upbringing, their child, like why do they act like this? Is it something they just deal with over time, or they heal from it? It's a lot of different factors, but I say,
and that's that you bring up, because I would say it's something I'm about to ask everybody a question. I want you to answer, and I want to talk about what is kind of to that place, because you're right, it can be upbringing. If you've gone to therapy, what kind of self-help techniques you got into to the place of, can I resolve conflict peacefully, or am I the argumentative one? And I think that am I the problem? And I think our listeners have to really be able to evaluate and give themselves an honest answer. So I'm just going to go quickly around the room to ask at a very basic level, and I'll start with you, Brandon. Do you think you are an argumentative or a more peaceful person?
Okay, so I believe I'm more peaceful. Both me, I can be argumentative, but now as I grow and mature, because I'm probably the youngest. So anyway, I'm 28, so as I'm growing and learning, I feel like
Did he say 28?
More mature and stuff. So I'm pretty much peaceful. I don't like to deal with conflict like that. So.
So you say peaceful person. What would you say, Chris? What are you?
I don't know, because I have stories that go along with my answers. So not to make it long, but when you was talking about being patient, I'm with all that in this now moment because I'm mature.
However,
the 2 previous relationships, I was with a guy, we dated for 2 years. It was long distance, and he just drove the hell out of me. He was, I just couldn't do it. And very impatient with him. But one thing I learned, and this was back in 2010, I caught shingles. And I don't know if any of you guys know what shingles is, but if you have the virus chickenpox, you typically have chickenpox once in your lifetime. However, the chickenpox never goes away. It stays dormant in your body. And then if there's a certain stress or nerve, it's the same chickenpox virus, but it doesn't come out in chickenpox. It comes out in shingles. Well, I was in a wedding and I had on this undergarment, and I thought I was irritated because it was actually on my my side, like for my breast going around my back. And I thought it was irritation from the undergarment. And so I went to the doctor because it was like painful and it was red. And they was like, oh no, this is the beginning. So they right at the beginning. But when I say that was almost as painful as giving birth. Like it was no joke. It was super painful. I had to take like 8 pills a day to get rid of it. So at that point in time, I was working a very stressful job, being a social worker, a tired social worker. I was working with some badass adolescent kids, and it took me to that level of my body telling me, like, we need to figure something else out, because that pushed me over the edge to the point where my health was at jeopardy. I had shingles, and at that time, I was in my early 20s. So, lesson learned for me, I will never put myself in a situation, to have to go through that again. So that relationship, that guy reminded me of that. And I used to always tell myself, like, Crystal, why is you still in this? Why are you dealing with this? And I stuck with it, trying to have that patience, but it just didn't work out for me. And I had to let him go.
And that was a huge reminder.
That was a huge reminder.
Shingles, and typically older people get it. My mom has shingles. Stress.
but you know, it's some stuff, especially now, even with women friends, I just be like,
the world
time for that.
Yeah. Take you on different places. So what would you guys say on the phone? What are you, start with Leona, would you say you're more argumentative or a peaceful person?
Well, I am the youngest one on this podcast. I'm 22 and I love to argue. Like, I love it. Like, oh, I will argue you down. There's nothing you can say to me. I'm right all the time. And I'm slowly but surely, you know, I'm starting to realize that I really just love the, you know, manipulation of cause and reactions, like that control over people. It's a real thing. Like, people used to always be like, you give
where do you think that's come from for you though? Like, were you brought up that way?
Did somebody take your pacifier and pre-K?
Like, what happened?
I grew up in foster care, so I have a totally different childhood from a lot of people. But I had to do a lot of stuff myself. I always seeked out people, like even Shayna, like mentors. I seeked them out when I see a woman I love that's doing her thing, that's awesome. I attempt to attach myself to her because I want to manifest, you know, that awesomeness. Right. So that's what I do. But for some reason, like, just that control of feeling like I'm in control of my situation, maybe because I wasn't in control of a lot of things when I was younger, it's just been like it's just awesome. And I try to stop because my friends will let me know too. Like, they'll be like, Leona, I am very well read. You know, I'm a journalist. We learned manipulation techniques in school. And it's just like, I will get the reaction I want. So I'm learning how to handle that and just be chill. But I'll argue all.
And I think you, like you said, you're 22, so I think you'll learn some things in talking today. But like we said, it's important, as Brandon said earlier, your upbringing, you know, because you did come up with foster care. We don't know your whole story, but that absolutely plays a role in you having to like feel for yourself and advocate for yourself. So it's very important for any partner that you have to understand that. I think for anybody's partner, you got to know a little bit about that person's background, because everybody isn't just out here acting a fool or arguing or doing whatever just for fun. Some people are just for fun, you know, but some, just for fun. But some people are doing it. They might need help or they can't control it. And I think ultimately a partner has to decide, like, am I willing to get in the boat with them and try to help them through this? Or do I need to just say I'm a bow out? So what would you say, Jacquita, what's your nature, you know, just your general nature?
I think that I'm peaceful. Okay. However,
everybody has however.
People think I'm argumentative.
Is it because you're a lawyer?
Yes. Okay. That's exactly how they follow it up. My thing is, most of the time, I'm not going to ask you a question that I don't already know the answer to, or that I have not researched myself. Right. So I think I'm peaceful because if we have to have a conversation and I believe that you're being untruthful, then I already have the facts, and they take that as being argumentative. But I'm like, no, I'm just presenting you
in my case. I'm just presenting my case.
So I think I'm peaceful, and I will say I try to avoid conflict unless I feel as though you're telling a lie or whatever you're doing is just stupid to me.
Right, and I think like one of my podcasts, the girl said, she said, everybody's not stupid, but you're stupid. She was like, some people are stupid. And I think, for me, I'm more of a peaceful person in this state. But what I will say is that in the past or now, I can be argumentative to some extent because I come from a very loud and confrontational and tall, confident family. And you got like all these, these 6-foot trees in the room. And you learn that everybody... And the thing is, when we're in a room together, everybody most times actually does have a valid point, because I'll give my family those bonus points. They are all very intelligent. Like my mom and sister sit up and watch Jeopardy, and they actually answering the questions. I said, they're like, who answers the questions on Jeopardy? Like, but that's what they do. And like to play like Scrabble, the deluxe edition, you know, so that's the kind of geeks in my family. So it's like when you are in a room with them and a point is being made about something, most times everybody does have a very valid point. So from a very early age, it was to me like, I have to be able to stand up for whatever it is that I believe in and stand for that. Beginning, I would say earlier on in relationships, it was kind of, I would say my upbringing, that made me feel like I had to fight for my right and everything. But then I found that sometimes it's more strength in just protecting your peace and sometimes letting a person believe what they want. Because at the end of the day, If I know that what I'm standing on is correct, or if I know what I'm standing firm is the right thing, right for me, if nothing else, then I can move on from that. And I think it's important for the listeners to recognize and kind of self-evaluate to see, you know, am I argumentative? Am I peaceful? You know, and really be honest about it to evaluate where it's come from, because it may be direct to go in to get some help. I may need to go to therapy. I may need to start looking at myself a little bit more. So I want to ask this because I'm not a believer in this, and I know some people. I've been fortunate really not to deal with this a whole lot, but I know some. And I'm gonna direct this at you first, Brandon. Okay. So, do you believe that some people just don't deserve response? Women who've dealt with partners that, and I'm just gonna say it, men that have felt like they getting a disagreement, and their man feels like, I'm just not gonna respond, and literally will just ignore them. And they just have to deal with this person being in the house with them and not get a reply from them. So, like, do you think that's so fair?
No, I don't think it's fair. Especially if you like in a relationship. Now, we just talking about random people. Some people don't deserve a response, but in a relationship now, y'all need to communicate, because a lot of these relationships, just being real, they don't communicate effective. So when you don't have effective communication,
you really can't do much.
You can't do much. So now you need to talk. Because see, I'm more of this with me and my girlfriend. Like, no, I don't like no silent treatment, none of that. Let's just talk about it. You know, we ain't got to yell and scream. You just got to be mature about it. So,
I agree. Nah. Do anybody, on here think that some people in a relationship deserve silent treatment?
I will say that I do think some people deserve it sometimes. I'm going to tie it back to what I said earlier. I'm in a relationship right now. We're going on a year and a half. So when I talked about the art of arguing, I think what's tied to arguing is winning. And some people want to win more than they want to actually care about what's coming out of their mouth. And I've seen that happen a lot in relationships where people just be talking. They just be talking, and it's like sometimes you don't need to respond, because that response isn't going to help the situation at all. And I think, like my boyfriend, he realized that with me a little early on. So and because of him, in the way he will be quiet, he'll make me sometimes think like, dang, I'm just talking. Or else he also realizes some days I just need to talk and I just need to rant, and there's not a response needed. But I feel like when you feed, sometimes if someone's arguing or trying to be confrontational, or, communication is not, they don't have productive communication, sometimes it is smart, and I think it is wise to let that person, like, listen to themselves, hear the words coming out their mouth, and endure that silence. And you don't need to respond, because all you're going to do is add fuel to a fire, or something that, that has to do with that person that's being loud.
It's almost like you need to hear yourself talk crazy out loud. I'm going to let you rest in that. What do you think? You think some people deserve to be?
That's how I feel sometimes.
I think it's a time and a place for everything. There's always a time for a conversation and a time to be quiet. As far as my relationship, my husband is just like really mellow. We don't really, he's not real argumentative. Like, that's never really been his personality. Like, he don't have a argumentative, like, just personality or the characteristics. So most of the time, if there's any type of disagreement or debate, I might do my little fussing or whatever. He's not always, but he's humble enough, and I feel like he has a lot of love towards our relationship. He will apologize even if it's not his fault. So that's kind of like the God of self that we practice. And it's not always just him. Because there's some days where, I bite the bullet and I apologize, and, I'm always right. So
I get it. It makes things easier. I think I found that in dealing with men in I would say 2019, 2020, I found that even if I have a disagreement with somebody, we don't have to argue about it. I think we can have a discussion. You can understand how but I don't like that agree to disagree bullshit. But I think that we can have a discussion. We can get on the same page, and we can understand how to move forward. And I think, again, I'm gonna keep saying it goes back to that maturity. Now, I want to bring something up. I don't know, has anybody in here ever read the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus?
I heard about it.
Okay, so for the listeners, if you have read it or if you haven't read it, don't read it. I'm saying so. I read it, and it was a portion of the book that said some BS like this that basically was about communication. And it was more so I felt like in favor of the man saying that if you get into a conflict with your guy and the guy decides that he's not going to communicate with you, he's kind of going to go into his old little hole or his man cave, that when a conflict arises, that you should just let him go, stay as long as he wants to, wait for him to come out. And when he comes out, then work to resolve your issues. But while he's in there, you shouldn't bother him. You shouldn't ask him how long it's going to be. You shouldn't ask him anything. You basically shouldn't talk to him. And I'm like, does that make sense to anybody?
No, we went through that. Yeah. My husband in the past would walk away and I would still be talking and I would have to follow him. And so we had to redirect him walking away and dealing with whatever the conversation was. But in reverse, if it was something that I didn't want to talk about, I would shut down. Yeah. So he would have to continuously talk to me. But, you know, we both told each other die to self. So his thing is, well, I'm going to work on not walking away and stay in the conversation and stay in the moment. Yeah. And mine was, okay, well, I'm going to continue to be vocal and continue expressing my feelings and not bottling them up and giving you the silent, you know, because neither one of us gets anything accomplished that way. So
and what you said about that part in, like, when somebody brings something to me, even if I know they're right, I don't want to talk about it. I hear you. Okay, I'm done. I get it. Like, they 2 sentences in. I'm like, I get it. I get defense. So now I know it's like, for me, it's like I'll be in a car with somebody took out like Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I just want to jump out rolling. I'm like, sit here and so I don't think that's effective, but I did want to bring that up. So I want to get to, since we are talking about conflict resolution, why do you guys think people fight so much in relationships? And I guess these ones, why? What are people fighting about? What's going on?
Because you always have a person that wants to be right. As an example, it's a little birdie by the name of Morgan Jackson that tried to call me out.
Okay.
And this was my maturity. I didn't respond to her because I feel like if you had something to say, you have my number and you know my address.
Tried to call you out where? Like on social media?
Just well, yeah. She posted something on Facebook, and there was this huddle in between a group of females that we, you know, kind of associated with, but it was a call out.
Okay.
So, you know, if you had to say, you know my number and you know my address.
Right.
But the maturity, the patience, and the God in me, you know, all of these examples, I let it go. So, you know, sometimes there's always a person who wants to be seen, heard, wants to be on top. But once you reach the goal of patience, maturity, the level of God, it's some stuff. It's like, man, I ain't got time for you.
You can't even reach.
I ain't.
So I think with that's the person that has their own.
Tell me if you still got some beef. Number still the same.
And I think those are the kind of people that just got that fight in them, especially if you out here Facebook or, you know, social media gang banging. People fight so much in relationships.
They selfish.
Okay, tell us more.
I just feel like some people are just set in their ways, like she was saying, like they just want to be right. They not trying to understand what you talking about. They just be like, okay, well, like. Just really thinking of self. And I feel like, especially in a relationship, you got to take self out of it.
Yeah, you got
to take self out of it. If the goal is really marriage, now if y'all just playing around and stuff, whatever y'all doing, it's different. But like, if the goal is marriage, I got to take self out of it.
Yeah, so. The goal is marriage, friendship, paycheck. You know, it's a lot of goals. You got to put all that other stuff to the side and die to self.
You got to pay attention to them all. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I think the same. I think people that argue really just argue because they want to be messy. You know, they want to be toxic. They feel bad. And they want someone else to feel. They want someone else to feel bad. I just with this relationship I'm in now, like my boyfriend, he never fights with me, and I have never experienced this in my life because I just left college, so I was, you know, little boys fighting all the time about all this kind of random stuff. But he doesn't even, because there's no need to fight when you really think about it. When you have a problem, you know, you talk out a solution, you figure out the cause. There's no need for that anger and that hatred and yelling. Like, it's not needed. And until I have someone make me realize that, like, oh, you're mad, and what are we solving with you yelling and flapping and running away? That's nothing. If we actually have a problem that's causing anger, that's going to be solved through thoughtful communication. Absolutely. So it's that's just toxic people that want someone else to feel as bad as they feel. They're going to try to start something, and if you don't want to start nothing and they go away, it's because that was their goal, was to try to
so
start
they
something.
could go away.
So it's just,
and I think a huge another
so,
part of
yeah,
that is two things that come to mind for me are pride. Pride is a motherfucker, and I think that it's a lot of people out here. They say, I've heard people say, "Do you want to be right or you want to be happy?" And I think some people just want to be right. So it goes back to what y'all were saying about people being selfish. People just want to be messy. People want to be petty. It's not about keeping score, and we talk a lot about that. You know, you won the last argument, I'm gonna win this one. You know, you talking louder than me, I can talk louder than you, or whatever's going on. I think that pride is a powerful thing. Pride will make you the mightiest man will fall. Man or woman will fall because of pride. So you have to keep your pride in check. Pride can be a beautiful thing when used in the right way. You know, be proud of your relationship being healthy. Don't be proud of your of acting a fool all the time. And I think another part of it is people partner with the wrong partner. A lot of people go listen to episodes 1 through 45 that we have before now. We get a lot of self-help, myself included. I listen after we record. I go and listen to this stuff and I try to apply it to my life. But I think a lot of people go through life and they are just selecting partners and are not doing the self work and getting the help they need to make better decisions for life partners. Because at a certain age, I would say 30, most of us, you know, I would say many of us, I don't say most. Many of us desire to be married and to have a solid relationship, even if you don't desire to be. So, you're still making the same mistakes you might have made in college and are not growing from it, and you're still making the same bad decisions with the partners that you're selecting, you are going to wind up in relationships where you fighting, you got conflict, y'all always at each other's throats because he look good, she look good. I think we should be together. We look good on Instagram, and that's all. It's y'all Instagram picture. So I think that's a huge part of it. We're out here choosing, you know, the wrong people. You gonna add to that?
I was gonna add because one of the young ladies mentioned that you need to have God in the center of things, and with everything that you just said, it reminded me of the scripture that we always refer to. Love is patient, love is kind, love is not boastful, which is the pride, and love does not keep score. So it's not about you got me, I'm finna get you back, or it's some revenge, or you know, I need to one up you. You know, when you at peace with yourself, and you find the patience, the kindness, you know, and when it becomes a maturity thing to where you're not trying to one up the person, and you can have disagreements or, you know, conflicts, and you can say, all right, you know what, for you, I'm sorry, you know, or for us, you know, I'm gonna die to self. Here go my slice of pizza. Just let me eat the pepperoni so you can just have the pizza. You know, you start to compromise.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say, Jacquita? Do you think that is the root of, you know, a lot of conflicts in relationship, or why people fight so much?
Well, I definitely agree with everything that you all said. All of those were on my list. I would add jealousy. A lot of people, a lot of people in relationships don't realize that they're truly jealous of another person's success.
So do you mean that? So tell me this: are you referring to jealousy within, like, their partner, or jealousy of, like, other couples?
Jealousy within their partner.
I've seen it.
Yes. So what attracts you to someone, or what should attract you to someone, is like they're on the same level of that you're on, or they're just a little bit higher, and you are attracted to them because you're like, oh, they, you know, they really on point. Like, they got this, they doing this. This is how they continue to elevate themselves. However, and I have noticed this a lot of times with men I've dated, they will pat me on my back, root for me, but in the same tone, they will try to, like, I won't say knock me back down, but try to keep me at a certain level. Or try to stunt the growth by making certain comments.
Or they just root for you for so long. Ooh, as time go on, like, I'm proud of you.
Brandon over here doing a lot of blinking.
I mean, you're right though. I mean, it's a lot of men out there. That's not me, but like, if you're with that person, you should, you know, want to be happy for them. Like, you shouldn't have to be jealous. So, but it is some men that's like that. They like the power, they like the control, and they don't want some women, they don't want them to, you know, make more than them or be more successful than them. So,
or even look better than them. You know, you can't date me and you looking better than me.
And I think it comes, if you're in a relationship, like you said, the self, it shouldn't matter. You know, if you make more, you may be a little bit higher of a position in your company. What your win is my win. We are together. This is one. You know, it's no way to have successful situations, but we do see it. You're right. Where they start out, you know, they're proud that you're a strong Black woman or that you are doing this at your firm, whatever the case may be. And then 6 months in, it's like, oh, you got another promotion. Oh, you got this, you know. Instead of, you know, congratulating or finding out, you know, if they the way you are to see how can I help you?
You gotta be happy again today.
Right.
You out here living your best life.
You know, so what would y'all say? If you speak thinking about personally, and I think I'll start this one off. What have you found to be the biggest point of tension in your relationships where you constantly had conflict? And some things I want you guys to think about, especially the listeners. You know, did you see these things before you got in a relationship? With the wrong person. And I would say when I got into relationships that I had the biggest conflict with, I saw all that before it started. I got with people that I knew should have been just here for a good time, not a long time. People that were not focused and driven like I am in my career, that, you know, almost like when I hate when women say like, I don't have female friends, I don't fool with other women. When men say like, I don't fool with other niggas, it's like, you ain't got one friend, you know. So man, that's why you can't hang out with him no more. Or they always beg, you know. And I know this go both ways. I'm just speaking for me. I'm not bashing the men, but I think for me, the biggest point of tension where I had conflict, ignore all the red flags before I signed up to be with that person, and I saw it. But because we had this quote unquote chemistry, which we know chemistry can be a catch-22. I thought that I should go ahead and jump out the window, and it didn't work. So what would you all say has been like the biggest thing that stood out where you constantly had conflict with a person?
I would say lies.
Okay.
And I won't say it was just a learning tool for me in that relationship.
I need to know more about these lies.
So for me, I'm a Virgo. Can have like a really high type A type of personality where I'm checking off boxes. And I would say that I have not been in any tumultuous relationships because I'm well guarded. Like I've kept my guard up. And if I saw the signs, I knew that I did not want to be in a relationship with a person. So I had like cousins and things was like, oh, you need to stop doing this checkbox on people. Just take a chance and date someone you would never, ever date. And, you know, stop saying like you're
Rob doing that.
Right.
You never have a date.
You better keep your pen in your pocket.
Right.
Well, I would say this was before I was 30. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I dated someone who didn't have a college degree. That's, you know, totally off my list. Dated someone who had kids, which before I was 30, that was definitely on my list. I mean, after 30, you may run into someone who may have 1 or 2 kids. Right. But before 30, no. So this person, when we were getting to know each other, of course, I asked if they had more than that one child that I knew that they had. They said no. I asked them if they had ever been married before. They told me no. And I would know that that was a question that I asked them because I said, well, what prevented you from marrying the person who you had a child with or who that you were in the last long-term relationship with? So the first lie that I found out about was their age. Something simple. Yeah.
So tell me what they told you and what they were.
So they told me that they were 36, but instead they were 37.
How they told you they were 36? They were how old?
37.
Okay, so that was a small lie.
That was not
It's not that bad. But see, the point was, it was like a stupid lie. And so that was my red flag. Yeah. I was like, this is so stupid. Why would you lie about 1 year?
Right. That means he lied for no
Exactly.
reason.
So that was the red flag saying, okay, if they lie about something this stupid, then they're going to lie about anything. So I called one of my male best friends. I was like, hey, this is the lie. What do you think as a male? They were like, oh, that's something stupid. You know, like you all said, it's simple. So they said, you know what, just keep, you know, going forward, checking things out. So I didn't
like
find
numbers.
Yeah. So I didn't find out the next lie until like maybe 2 months later. We're in this relationship. I went against my own rules of waiting like more than 6 months to get in a relationship with someone. We got into a relationship after dating for like 2 months. So while helping him with some paperwork regarding his child, I found out that him and the child's mother were married when the child was first born, which that child was like 14 years old. So this was 14 years ago. The point was, you have lied about your age and you have lied about being married. And it was a stupid lie because you know that in my position, I can check records.
Yeah, I could find out. And it was 14 years ago.
So it's like, now you're playing with my intelligence. So after that lie, we broke up, and I was like, that first lie was a red flag that I should have checked then that there were other lies, because a lot of times when I'm getting to know men, I will run background checks on them.
That's true.
And I will check things because I have to protect myself. And I mean, I practice criminal law before doing what I do now, so I just know.
You heard a lot of lies.
Yeah, I know the stuff that men are hiding. Yeah, so I would say that yeah.
The lies, like Candy Bird.
You ain't got a lie, Chris.
The lies.
Exactly. So I would say the more to that story for me was I can let my guard down a little bit. As far as checking people on their lies and fact checking things, yeah, I'm sticking to that one on my list.
I got it. I'm with it. What would y'all say has been the biggest point of tension in relationships where you had conflict in Nashville?
Why you look at me?
I'm looking at both of y'all.
Look, I say maturity. I talked to him, he didn't want to cut my grass, his story, but at that time I was in my early 20s, had my own little house, thought I was doing something, and I just figured, life, you gonna act. He wanted to lay up and cuddle up and go out and do all this fun shit, but when it was time to cut the grass, he coughing like he got bad asthma. But this nigga, smoke. So it's like, okay, like, so the maturity for me was, just a cutoff for a lot of people. They wasn't, either focused, they wasn't serious. Even with my husband, when we met on our first date, I was like, okay, what's your intentions? And he was previously married. He had 2 daughters from his previous marriage. He was like, he don't want to get married again. He don't want no kids. Pretty much, he just told me he just wanted a cuddy buddy. And I was like, well, you know what? I don't want to waste your time, and you clearly not going to waste my time, because I know, my value, and I know what I want. I've never been married. I do want to experience having children. So it just seemed like we was on 2 different pages. But I stayed there eating my little free meal, and I had a couple drinks,
Yeah.
Because I was already out the house. But push come to shove, he kept calling me, and he been infatuated with us ever since. So I don't know. I just some people, they live for maturity. You gotta. For me, I had to make sure my standards and priorities were in place, and that I didn't downgrade those expectations, and I just stayed true to it, and for me it leveled up to me, and he'll be okay with me saying that, but yeah, it was just the maturity. These niggas out here was lame.
Yeah. And I think that's what people have to pay attention to. I think for the listeners, we talked about the lies, we talked about the red flags, the maturity, don't downgrade yourself. What would you say, Brandon, from a male perspective? Because I know society would have us think that women are the only ones that argue or do any of that.
We the problem.
Yeah, we the problem. So what would you say has been the biggest point of conflict, in previous relationships or your current one?
I say previous. She was stating, basically saying like somebody always want to be right, or they just like to argue. So this one situation, we ain't gonna dig too deep, but anyway, she was just toxic. So when I go back to like people upbringing or who have they dealt with before you, one woman I dealt with was just so messed up mentally by her previous ex. She rolled that over here. So she manipulative. She accused you of lying when you ain't did nothing.
Yeah.
So like Crystal said, the maturity level is like mentally, she ain't mature enough to, handle situations.
And she's standing there reaching her neck out to you, and you don't know why, but she waiting on you to smack her, and you don't even hear it.
Exactly.
She used to.
And then majority of the time it's like she was being manipulative, or you was doing something out of pocket, trying to accuse me. So
right, and I think and we're gonna do a whole episode on that eventually, on emotional maturity. I think that is the first step to success in any relationship, man, woman, cat, dog, child, whatever, because you have to have a certain level of maturity to handle so much in this life. We go through so much mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, occupationally. You can literally go through something in every category that I named every single day. And if you're dealing with especially if you want to rough. And if you're dealing with somebody that's immature, they are not gonna get it, and they are not
gonna catch a case.
Yeah,
because I know in the past where I was almost on CNN wearing an orange jumpsuit, doing a live exclusive interview with Don Lennon about why I was finna snap. If I would have snapped, that would have been
that's where it was gonna go. Because if you're not dealing with somebody emotionally mature enough, they aren't gonna care. They aren't gonna show you empathy or compassion.
They don't have no support.
They're not gonna have no support. They're not gonna have nothing positive to say. They may even tease you to the point I knew that was gonna happen to you, or that should have happened to you. And if you are a person that's dealing with somebody like that, you need to leave that person right now. Yeah, I'm saying it. So I think that's the overall theme with dealing with conflict in relationships. If you're finding that in listening to this episode, you're recognizing, we go through conflict, and we go through conflict on a certain level, would be small. How mature am I, and how mature is my partner? And also, you have to decide. Say if you are the person that's listening, you recognize maybe you have some things to work through, underlying issues you need to work through your maturity. You need to decide: can I work through these in a relationship, or do I need to step away and work through these alone? And or vice versa. If you recognize that your partner may be the one, because just because you recognize it doesn't mean your partner's going to receive it. Your partner.
But I will say something with maturity. I think a lot of people, for some reason, I don't know how we were taught, they compare maturity with age. And all I've ever known is that maturity has to do with experience. I know so many people that have met me and they think I'm 30 or 30 something, just because I didn't get to do all the kid stuff. I had to learn stuff fast. I had to get with stuff fast. I experienced some things. And so maturity comes with experience. So I think some people, they want to be matured. They probably, crave it, but they just haven't had those type of situations hit their life yet for them to develop that emotional maturity. So I think it's hard when you're on different emotional levels with somebody you like or think you care about, because it's like, I can't force you to go through, experiences, So that's something I agree about.
Maturity is not always age. Like when I hear some people talk about kids, like, they 18, they going now. No, they not.
That's why they just talking about these gender surgeries and stuff. These kids changing their gender, and they was like, they don't even know what they want, who they are. They don't wait until after they're a certain age to do it, and not allow them to do it while they're still maturing as individuals. And,
it comes from experience. That's so true. You can't just say I'm 21, I'm grown. You may as you grow. You got a lot of life to live. Truly learning. Some people do learn it faster than others, and some people are naive, don't have street sense, a lot of things like that. So you have to be mindful of those things before you just jump out the window with somebody. So do you guys think that, in speaking about that, because you may be a person that's emotionally mature, and your partner or someone you may come across, probably the opposites attract, or should emotion? I asked that because in my past I kind of ran to the opposite of myself, because in the beginning it kind of seemed fun. But as I got older, I'm like, no, that fun lasted like 30 minutes. And I'm like, nah, that's for me. So what do you all think about that?
I think that the person needs to definitely know Jesus. If they don't know Jesus, then that's red flag, orange flag.
So if they opposite from the Lord.
That's first flag. You need to leave that alone.
So if they do like Jesus, but
if they like Jesus, then we can move forward with the next question or the next point of conversation.
So even if there is opposite, so you like to go out, they like to stay in. You like to turn up, they don't.
I take that back, because my husband opposite. He real quiet, mellow. He don't really talk to a lot of people. He will hold a conversation, and he's very intelligent. He's probably one of the smartest men I've come across, in life. But he's very, me. I'm
so how does that work for y'all?
Because I wear a lot of colors.
Yeah. So how does that work?
It just work. It be some days, we be like, all right, let's go to Kroger. And then, I'm like, all right, you got the keys? And he be like, damn, you all dressed up. And I be like, baby, look, Obama or somebody might be at the Girl Scout, table selling cookies, and I need to be prepared.
Yeah.
You got to stay ready. That way you ain't never got to get ready. Yeah. And he be like, you make me feel like I need to go and put on some clothes. Well, don't put on some clothes. You ain't got to wear T-shirts and jogging pants every day. So I don't know. We just... But you know him.
Yeah.
I mean, so he just, I don't know. We are totally different. I'm colorful. I'm very blunt.
Yeah.
He's very quiet and he's very humble. But there are certain characteristics about him that I wish I had, because that I told y'all he was previously married and he has 2, children with the previous marriage. I can't stand their mama. I wish I could just jab her in the throat, but I can't do that.
Right.
Because that's the maturity in what you said.
It's the guy.
But it be certain things when I remember I used to tell him, man, I don't know how you so calm about this. You tell me go, I'm gonna get him.
Yeah.
So because I know you got the bond money, but he don't jump to like crazy reactions and retaliation and stuff like that. And then it'll take some time, and this is where God will, fall on my shoulder, and then the angel shoulder tap me and say, you know what, you ain't right for that. You ain't even right for thinking that. Yeah. So then I had to go back and apologize to him and remind him, you continuously be that man that God has put you to be, and not only that, but because that's the only reason you're gonna continuously stay blessed, because you're so humble. And he don't let like dumb shit and dumb people like affect him. Yeah. Whereas I be ready to check a hoe. Like, look, blink, like I don't know, but yeah. Ask somebody else something.
When I was gonna say just a quick tidbit. When it comes to opposites attracting, I have always had this belief. I think that everyone needs each other, but not everyone needs to sleep with each other. When it comes to like my age group, because I feel like there's a lot of people that you look at and they inspire you, or there's something about them that draws them to you. And I feel like a lot of people have a lot of characteristics that people want to, learn from or mature from. But then that's what something you brought up earlier is that boundaries come in place, so that you don't, cross lines. Because I think God gave all of us different gifts on purpose. And I think we all need each other to succeed. But when it comes to a lot of people that say opposites attract, I see it all the time where they don't really attract. Maybe you needed that person to grow, but you didn't need to be with that person. That makes sense.
We can attract for other reasons.
And so that's what I think.
Like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. So what do you say, what do y'all say couples have to do in order to avoid the conflict continuously? Is it, because I think it's a difference, self-preservation versus dependency. Because sometimes we show up in relationships and we think our man got to solve every single problem in our life to make us happy, make us sad, make us joyful, make us everything in between. Versus you have to be able to decide, like, okay, it's some things your partner cannot fulfill in you. Some things you are responsible for yourself. So what would you say? And I think this goes right into a segue for like the resolution. What would you all say overall if you had to give like a piece of advice to people in order to find a solid ground on being able to stop the conflict, to avoid the conflict, or just to find a resolution within the conflict of their household? What do people have to do?
They have to go to therapy. And I will say therapy for the individual, therapy for the couple, and use the tools that you get out of therapy. A lot of people go to therapy and then that's it, but they don't use the tools that the therapist gives them. And a lot of those tools will help you have effective communication skills. And that's missing in a lot of relationships. And you're going to continue to have those conflicts if you're not communicating.
I agree. And I think a part of therapy is more people need to recognize you need to go to therapy when you're boyfriend, girlfriend. Don't wait until you are engaged. And I know a lot of people do that, but I've heard a lot of things and I believe in this, because by the time you get engaged, you're going to walk down the aisle. The therapist could probably sit right there and tell you not to do it. But you're going to be like, well, I got this ring. You about to go ahead and do it. We're going to figure it out.
My mama that bought her dress.
Yeah, you feel an obligation. But I think if you try to go to it before the engagement, while you're in a relationship, you may find that you and your partner, hopefully, it may work out, or you may find y'all not supposed to be together and y'all can go separate ways before you walk down the aisle to say I do. So my piece of advice would be start therapy now. If you got a boo tonight, go ask your boo, can we go to therapy? He may say nothing wrong, but no relationship is perfect. Everybody got something they need to work on.
Mount Zion has a class for those Nashvillians that are local. It's for individuals who are dating, engaged, married, thinking about being in a relationship, and it is an awesome premarital course. It talks about finances, family, communication, sex, bills, religion. Work, religion, blended families, like the whole shebang, you name it. And it's very, very, very insightful. And as she just mentioned, it will give you tools. And for me, those tools are recognizing certain red flags. And if you can push through and, figure out a common ground of those red flags, then it's fine. But if not, you have that awareness.
Yeah.
So, good class. Shout out to Mount Zion.
I'm here for it. So what would y'all on the phone who hasn't given their opinion? What would y'all say is the fix to avoid these conflicts? What do you say, Brandon?
Like you said, you gotta be sure in yourself first. Okay. So when you come to a relationship, you can't be dependent. Like, it's cool to like motivate each other, help each other, but you can't be dependent on your partner. You gotta fix yourself. Yeah. So that's part of, like I said in the beginning, patience with each other. Like, you gotta set boundaries now. I ain't just saying that somebody talk bad to you. Nah, none of that. Yeah. But just patience, understanding each other, and really communicating effectively. That's like a big thing. Even my current relationship, like, we communicate effectively. Like, even if we don't want to talk, like, we communicate. Now, if you just really upset and you're going to say something crazy, I will respect you more if you be like, hey, Brandon, can I just get like 5-15 minutes and we can come back to this? Right. That's cool. But when silent treatment and stuff, I just don't like that. Like, I understand, like, some people. No, that's immaturity. Do. Yeah. But,
So you got a boo?
Yeah, I got boo.
Your boo listening to you talk about all this?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Hey, boo.
And I heard Will and Jada say something, I think it was in a Red Table Talk, about when they were going through, certain times, and they have a rule, they don't curse at one another. And he said that they would get to these moments of conflict. I need to step away because right now, if I speak to you, like, I'm not going to present my best self. Like, I'm not going to be the person that I know I can be to you right now. Yeah, so he's like, let me walk away and come back when I can talk to you with respect, basically. Because sometimes, when you're that rich, I can only imagine that Mike got that much money involved. But I think sometimes you do get to a point, depending on what it is, where it's like, and I know I've been there, where it's like, if I part my lips, I'm going to, and I can never come back from. So it's literally like, let me walk away, let me seal them. And I'm going to talk about it, but like you said, let me know. I need some minutes. I don't have a number of minutes, but I need some minutes to walk away from this and come back. And I promise when I come back, we are going to talk about this. But in this moment, we are going to get worse. We keep doing what we're doing right now.
And that's maturity. That's maturity. Yeah. That's a person who realizes their temperament. That's a person that realizes that they need a moment to gather their thoughts, to gather their self. But that's also a person who cares about the person. If you care enough about a person, you don't want to hurt them. You don't want to put yourself or them in a situation to where it can become hurtful. Yep. So that takes maturity to even say it, to realize the situation. But even just communicating, we will come back and readdress this. But right now, I just need a minute. So just
make it clear, because I know for me, and I try to treat people like you want to be treated. I say things I want to say, because if you say to me, Shayna, I need a minute, I'm gonna say how many minutes. So I say I need a minute. I'm like, or I'll say I need to step away. But I promise we're gonna talk about it tonight. I'm like, it may be 11:58, but we're gonna talk about it tonight. I promise you that, and I'm not gonna break that promise. So I just, again, that communication being effective.
That person needs to be mature and patient.
Yes. And that person got to know, the person dealing with me got to know, like, okay, yeah, she said it. I just need to let her walk away for the house, go up in flames. Yeah. We all set a blaze up in here. Yeah. So let me, let that go. So anything else that you all think we would add to that in regards to how we can avoid the conflict, because I think we touched on some pretty powerful points.
I believe the children of the future.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty.
And it's with you. Happy birthday, Nippy! Come on.
I know that song was just being sung to be funny, but I honestly do think the children are the future, because I figure like now the problem. I'm gonna let her finish it.
We done forgot the words. The greatest love of all.
Okay, what you saying, Leona? I know it's not gonna air on Vicky's birthday, but today is her birthday, so we had to give a tribute.
No, it's okay. I said I know that song was like sung kind of to be funny, but I kind of believe in it a little bit because I know I'm younger and everything. But I've just realized, especially when we get into these spaces where, I know I have been able to talk to my birth mom and my aunt, the people who raised or helped me develop at home in Nebraska, and I just realized like people weren't vocal back then, and children now, sometimes we talk way too much, but I feel like children are the future. We are definitely communicating way more. Some a little too much. I'm not gonna lie. I think sometimes we definitely over communicate some feelings, but it's just like I feel like now that we're in this whole age where we're asking questions and we're not afraid to ask questions and we're trying to understand earlier, and it's like we're being able to go through those experiences, gain that knowledge that I feel like just maybe previous generations people would just be like, nah, forget that, don't mess with him. My mom and stuff, they used to always say stuff like, if a dude makes you mad, just leave them or don't, just the way they would handle stuff. They just try to tell us that.
Our parents were raised completely different than we were raised. The things we do now, our parents would have never did. The questions that we ask, even, had communicated with our partner. Let that man do it. That man pay bills. Let him do what he want to do.
Yeah.
Think I'm
no, he can't do what he want to do.
She got a whole baby.
Mary wasn't the only one.
So I was just saying, children are our future. Yep.
So yeah, it absolutely goes back to that upbringing. I think you have to recognize how people were brought up, and that's absolutely going to play a role. But some, you may meet a 22-year-old or 32 or 42-year-old that believes that women don't talk back, quote unquote, to their man, or I pay the bills, you do what I say, and you have to have those conversations so you can have a true understanding of who you're signing up to do life with. So I think that ultimately, when it comes down to avoiding conflict or dealing with it, I think the bigger picture here is that men, whoever, have to be able to evaluate their role in the situation. What growth do they need to make happen? What are they doing right now to make things play out the way they are? But also just recognize that emotional maturity, that's the word of the day. You need to be dealing with an emotionally mature person. And if they are, you can't make somebody grow up. We all know that. You can't make them do that. So I think emotional maturity is going to be the name of the game. And if you find that you are in constant conflict with your partner, you need to recognize, am I willing to stay in and fight the good fight? Do I have a person that's willing to go to therapy or take whatever steps I need to in order to get resolution? Or do I have somebody that's okay with being complacent and staying where they are? And do I want to sign? And if I'm going to stay, I need to shut up.
You don't need to recognize.
If I'm gonna stay, I need to shut up. But if I'm not gonna stay, I need to run real quick, like Forrest. So, on that note, everybody give yourself a round of applause for this wonderful episode. Everyone's opinions are always valued and appreciated, and we'll be right back with Montana Minute. We are now introducing a new segment to the podcast. This is called Living Single. We want you guys to send in any of your relationship questions, if you need advice, or if you just want to give feedback on the show on a topic that we've discussed. Feel free to DM them on Instagram to Shanna Montana, or you can inbox me on Facebook, Living Single, and we'll definitely be touching on these topics on each episode going forward. And now this brings us to the Montana Minute. The first thing, conflict doesn't have to be a driver in your relationship. I think everyone may disagree with their partner here and there, but you shouldn't have conflict so much that it causes major problems all the time. If you do, you may have some work to do in other areas of your relationship that you hadn't thought about. The next thing, fight fair. Don't go below the belt. Everybody can win in the end. And the last thing, own your role in the conflict and work to fix it with your partner instead of against your partner. It's not a competition, and if it is, it's one that neither one of you should want to win because you're in it together. So now, I leave you all with the question, to be single or not to be. Signing off, yours truly, Shanna Montana.